Welcome back to segment 2 of Conversations with Archbishop Kurtz for the month of March. Now, Archbishop, we're talking about your big trip you just came back from, which is the trip to the Philippines. So let's talk first about who went with you on the trip and, more importantly, what was the purpose of the trip?
Yeah, well, thanks, Brian. It was really a privilege for me to represent the Bishops' Conference here in the United States. It really was a trip that included Catholic Relief Service leaders, who, and you know, Catholic Relief Service is the humanitarian international arm of the Bishops' Conference within the United States. So in addition to Monsignor Jenkins and Monsignor Bransfield, who are Secretary General and Associate for the USCCB, I was also accompanied by Archbishop Coakley, who is the Archbishop of Oklahoma City, and he currently is the chair of the Board of Catholic Relief Services. He's appointed by the President. Of the conference, I was happy to appoint him back at the end of November. And also Dr. Carolyn Wu, who is the Executive Director. She and I have been friends. We served on the Board of Catholic Relief Services back in 2005 to 2008. And then Sister Carol Kean, who's one of the board members. So, and there was a whole host of other people as part of the gathering. But we were there really as emissaries of hope. We were there to be joining the people in the midst of the typhoon. I know you know this, but we call it Typhoon Haiyan. They call it, right in the Philippines, Yolanda. What I didn't know is the typhoon, when it hit land on November 8th, I think it was, of 2013, it's supposedly the strongest in recorded history. It was 195 miles an hour. Now, I know what a fastball that's 95 miles an hour. I can't throw it, but I mean, I know what it looks like. This is twice the speed. And Brian, when it came in and hit, and we were in the eye, when we went to the island of Leyte, we were in the eye of where it hit. It just took with it a surge, first of all, of water. Anybody living near the water basically lost their house. The churches lost their roofs. And then the wind damage, knowing it, that swept right through the islands and did untold damages to people.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That tragic story.
Yeah. I know we're going to see a footage, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
We're going let's talk about the Philippines and let's talk about CRS 1-2, and they'll see some footage of the trip. So,
good.
So maybe, I think this is probably your first trip there. It's one of the places I've always wondered about. What was your impression about the Philippines, the Philippine people?
Well, yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, what helped us is that first day we spent in Manila, we met with Cardinal Tagle, who is the Archbishop of Manila, Archbishop Socrates Villegas, who is the president of the Episcopal Conference. I knew both of them because they were at the Synod in Rome. Evangelization. So it was renewing friendship, really, more than anything. But they gave us great insights. Devastation, no question. Yeah. I remember when we went to the town of Tacloban, which was completely devastated. I said, what did it look like beforehand? And you know, to a person, they all said, it was a very clean town. Wow. Cardinal Tagle was the most powerful. He said, now, remember, despite the devastation, we're not victims. The Filipino people are people of great hope, great faith. We're resilient. We don't necessarily want to be rescued, but please come and be our partners. And that's what Catholic Relief Services is. We're partners with Caritas Philippines, as well as we were with some of the representatives of Caritas Australia. And their Caritas Philippines is an acronym, it's called NASA. But they take the lead, and we are partners. And it's really an experience of the church as one in Christ at its best.
I know now, even just a brief description of why it was a trip of hope.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk a little bit about CRS. Many Catholics, as a poster or a letter from you or an envelope in their collection, we know about overseas need, but this, you've been on the board, but talk about CRS as you've experienced it now, really on a trip like this.
Yeah. Catholic Relief Services, people who are donating to the cause of Catholic Relief Services can be very proud, because the people that I have met are, first of all, very committed to their Catholic faith. they're very desirous of working with a local church in their area. Now, remember, Catholic Relief Services is a humanitarian branch, so they're not part of necessarily the rebuilding of churches.
Okay.
It's part of the reason when we did the collection, which by the way was over $10 million throughout the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, I know within our own diocese it was wonderful, archdiocese. But that was one of the reasons why the bishops gave donor option. We said, listen, give us the freedom to be able to use some of this money, the majority, for humanitarian purposes, shelter, water,
food,
sanitation, even rebuilding jobs. So the humanitarian thing. But in addition to that, let us also use some of the funds for the rebuilding of the churches, which is the center of the life of the people, of their worship. It's also the place they went when their home was blown away. It became shelters.
Well, does a church like here provides social services? So if the church isn't functioning, it's even hard to do the social services.
So really, I think one of the messages we had going over and coming back was to tell the faithful throughout the United States, thank you. Okay. Thank you for being generous. Thank you for your money. We're being good stewards. I need to say how important that was. And by the way, I've celebrated Mass where it was raining outside. But this was the first time I celebrated Mass where it was raining inside.
Oh my goodness.
The main aisle was just a torrent of rain because the roof had been blown away. And people would have to experience that, and you would think, well, gee, then people are being robbed of their faith. No. We had a Mass on a Thursday morning at 7 o'clock, the Redemptorist Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Help. 1,100 people showed up. I thought it'd be a few, maybe 20, 30 people. It was 1,100 people at this Mass, and there was a great outpouring of spirit. And you could imagine how much energy there is in helping others.
Is that image of the church is still alive a helpful one? So talk about the impact in the recovery. How's the recovery going? And is it going all right?
It is in this sense that certain places, like any you would not be surprised, begin to recover first. So there was a process that it's kind of the normal process in which restore food and shelter, get clean water, temporary shelters, then to restore normalcy. Brian, one of the first things you do is restore the school. Because once the children begin to go, and the children were wonderful. I mean, gosh, it was great to see them. Kids are kids.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
right.
you see this, they had restored the basketball court. But restore the school, and in a special way now they're doing more permanent shelters. And they have a program called Cash for Work, in which funds are given as people take rubble away and begin to restore normalcy. So it'll be many years before everything is restored. But boy, is there great hope, and it's a partnership.
You know, Archbishop, thank you for sharing this story. Thank you for going, because the Philippine story has been something you've written about and told us about. I know the viewers are going to want to have seen these pictures and hear you verbally telling these stories. But also thanks for representing us. You're our ambassador when you're on the road, besides serving the Church of the United States.
Thank you,
So
Brian.
thank you. And thanks, viewers, for being with us for this edition. We're going to come back with the third section of March's program, and with a special guest who's going to help us talk about Lent.